Dear Desolation by Thy Art Is Murder. Well, 2016 was sure kind of a forgettable year for this band, aside from some really interesting tours where there was some vocals handled by vocalists from all over the place. You know, CJ was no longer with the band at that point. Decided that he wanted to leave in late 2015. But he came back earlier this year, and with that came news that new Thy Art material was certainly possible, and here we are with new Thy Art material in our hands. And this band has always been sort of earmarked as a deathcore band, which is fair considering it does have all of the stylistic ideas that surround it, but they always sort of felt a little bit like the anti-deathcore band, where, yeah, sure, they have those characteristics, but they were trying to utilize them to push a different agenda, such as a more death metal-centered agenda. Either that or just use them as utility tools that are right there hanging in their belt. Something that's available, but not necessarily their identity. And really, this is something that is more so Thy Art's identity than anything else. The fact that they have this available, but they don't always like to go to that side of their sound. And really, Slaves Beyond Death is a real showcase of that. It almost sounds like it should be maybe like a Pantera song title or something like that. But with this song, and it's really a setup for the remainder of the album, the deathcore moments are going to be few and far between, but brutal whenever they do exist. And really, they feel very necessary also, like the narrative is heading that direction. But Thy Art Is Murder is almost embracing a little bit more traditional death metal with each passing release, almost as though that is just simply where their evolution is pointing them. And you look at a band such as like a Behemoth or something like that, and you notice that Thy Art Is Murder is almost starting to sound at times like a Behemoth understudy, especially in the brand new age. But Slaves Beyond Death is able to really give this album a fantastic opener, so you're immediately opened up with something that has you excited for what the remainder is able to really deliver. So then you go into the Son of Misery, which escalates it to beyond the 4-minute mark, and you realize that that extra little bit of length doesn't hurt the composition whatsoever. And it's based around the fact that these melodies and these shred points are just very nicely timed and pretty well constructed, and that the backing percussion is one that operates similar to like a thunder horse. It's got a lot of real backbone, a lot of ass to it, so based off of that, the whole entire composition comes together and feels very large. You add the vocals to it, and that's where that depth and that sort of brutality, that, you know, that anger really festers in, and it gives it that sort of evil vibe. And that sort of, you know, you throw that in the witch's brew and you crap out good songs in most cases. And the Son of Misery really displays that in vibrant ways. And as it continues forward with songs such as Puppet Master, the title track, and even Death Dealer, even whenever that temperamental showcasing of the deathcore side of Thy Art Is Murder sound comes, it feels really welcome. And I think that's why deathcore receives a lot of flack, is that it's an idea that has become a sub-genre that has become completely overutilized by those who use it, and now you're starting to see a lot of those bands shed that veneer. They kind of went with the idea that everybody really likes this sound, we should do it as much as possible, and now the saturation point has come and gone, and now it is, we're way past flood stage, so now the waters are starting to recede. But with Thy Art Is Murder, these all feel like logical progressions to songs, almost as though they were, you know, the utilization that you would get from deathcore before in some metalcore. The earliest metalcores showed it as a way to sort of slow down the pace and deliver a moment within a song, and that's what Thy Art is able to do whenever they employ their deathcore signatures. The second half of this album, though, is where some of that death metal really starts to rise in escalation. Sure, it's always been sort of swirling and brewing throughout side A of this album, but side B is where it's time to shine, and that's because of these longer song lengths, and by longer, you know, for them, 4 to 4.5 minutes definitely has that. But really, it's also in the makeup. It's also in the writing style. Like Carnifex, this is a band that immediately does not aim to write, deathcore the same way as some of its contemporaries. They instead opt to use the balances and ideas of death metal and even some black metal in order to create some different style and different charm. Basically, change up the property of something that already has its own sort of blueprint and create something completely new or brand new, or in this case, something that is not really being employed as often by bands of the death metal or deathcore rather distinction. And I like the fact that a song such as Into Chaos We Climb really does have that, it has that feel where the song title is just a heralding cry to just how insane the song itself is going to end up being. Yeah. But I like the fact that also the final curtain is not the final song on this disc. They instead give the final curtain as second to last duties with No Absolution being the final cut. And both of these are absolutely nuts. And it gives you, from a storytelling standpoint, even though this album may not have that concept variety, the final curtain basically just says that the story's over, but No Absolution basically tells you that nothing has changed. We have not learned a damn thing, and we are going to continue to be as brutal, as reckless, as ruthless, and as destructive as we want to be for as long as humanly possible. And that's kind of what you get from that goodbye and good night, but good luck slowing us down, that those two song titles kind of give you that whole feeling behind it. And I like that. I like the fact that it has some balls, it's uncompromising, and in a way, even though it's unplanned, it's like CJ saying, I'm not gonna stop, that thing that happened before, whoops, you can stop talking about that now, you can stop talking about me now, because I'm back, and this is going to be what we are from here on out, and we might even have some more tricks down the line. I like this album a lot. I think that this has a lot of great steps in positive directions, which Die Hard didn't even really need. Die Hard was already a fantastic band, and so to have them going even further and treading even further into traditional death metal territory and sort of shedding some of those wings of the past is really cool. And it also shows that CJ's time away was not just spent maybe sitting on his backside or getting married, which he did do, but at the same time, he also had some ideas in mind, and he came back fresh, and it revitalized this band. Not that they were really sounding all that bad before, but they didn't have a lull moment, is essentially what you can take away from this. They did not have a moment where they were complacent and maybe just released an album of complacent songs. Instead, they were very aggressive, and it shows itself whenever you listen to Dear Desolation. This is a 21 out of 30. I think that some of the tracks still have a little bit of work that needs to be done in order to get that perfect balance, in order to make deathcore even more of just a tool as opposed to perhaps a core element. Basically break down that pie chart and make it where you have so many different things that you can go to in your arsenal that it becomes fun to really build the puzzle of the song, because that's whenever you can actually sit down and think about penning, a 5, 6, 7 minute long track. And I have a feeling that if Die Hard Is Murder did that, maybe 1 or 2 albums down the line, it would blow everybody away and give them something brand new to scope out and try. And really, whenever you have all of those options, your opportunities are endless. You can literally do anything with your sound, and that is a freedom that can be very liberating, not to mention it can be very scary for Album of the Year lists, because Die Hard Is Murder could quickly blossom into one of the best bands on the planet. I would know what you guys think about Dear Desolation. Let me know in the comments below. I'm coverkillernation, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Just sweet.